literary slummers, to another episode of Hate Read. I'm one of your Animorphs, Anna.
And I'm another one of your Animorphs, M. Every fortnight here on Hate Read. Well, that's crap and not actually applying to what we're doing right now. The premise of the podcast is that we challenge each other to read books that we think we'll hate, but we haven't done that this summer. Instead, we're doing a Slummer Reading project, where we are reading the Animorphs series by K.A. Applegate and discussing it.
Mm-hmm.
Although I will say, it has been approximately 1,000 years since we last recorded one of these episodes, because we are recording in bulk for scheduling purposes.
Pretty much.
And I feel like so much has happened since we last talked about Animorphs. I literally have aged another year.
Yeah, I have aged. The Animorphs have aged. Mm-hmm. It feels like they're centuries old now.
I have actually moved out of what I used to call my mid-20s, what I could claim was still my mid-20s, and am firmly in my late 20s now. I'm much older and wiser. I'm coming at this with a fresh new perspective.
Yes, and by the time this airs, I will be almost 30.
Oh my god.
I will be a week away from 30, so that's where I am now.
Oh man. So
Still reading Animorphs.
So this week we did read Animorphs number 4, which is The Message. The Message. Which was our first Cassie point of view. What do you think?
I thought Cassie was kind of boring. I'm like, obviously she is not the star of this book.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like
there's a big other thing going on that draws a lot of attention away from Cassie.
Yes, which is probably fine. I don't feel like Cassie has a lot going on for her other than that she loves animals. So
yes.
She has no drama in her life,
yes.
And that's about it.
And I would also say, I think that I've discussed before, and I know we'll definitely discuss in the next book, how these first few books are very much setting up like what the Animorphs' motivations are for, and everybody else has kind of been like, has been like a journey to reach that motivation. Like, right. Cassie's motivation is very much like, she loves animals and the earth, and where she ends up at the end of this book is like, yeah, there's some more information she has about, like, what might happen to animals and the earth, but her motivation is still, I love animals and the earth. Like,
yes.
It didn't really change much. Not a lot of character development as far as Cassie is concerned.
Yes, she's still horse girl.
She's still horse girl. We do get a little bit of the Cassie-Jake relationship in this one, although I would argue we don't actually get that much, but the book seems to think that
it was everything.
And I'm just like, what is this? I'm not a fan of the Cassie-Jake relationship.
I'm not either. And mostly it's because I don't love Jake.
See, I thought that was my reason too, but I'm a big fan of a different Jake-centric relationship that I am sure I will get to by the end of this book. But
oh, lordy.
So I think it's, and I think I ship Cassie with a different Animorph. I think that's what I'll say on it for now, and we can get into that later on.
Yeah, I can see her being with someone else.
I wonder if we agree on who that is, but
yeah, I guess we'll find out.
So speaking of finding out, let's go ahead and get into the breakdown for Animorphs number 4, The Message.
Yeah, so this one opened up a lot of lore, Animorphs lore, to us, I think, because we do meet a very special character in this one. So, but to start from the beginning, Cassie and Tobias are both having really weird dreams about a sea and someone calling out to them from the sea. And they decide to bring this up to the others, but the others are kind of like, what are you talking about? You guys are weird. I don't have those dreams either. We don't even believe you.
Which, like, that's some pretty strong stance to take from people who turn into fucking gorillas, but whatever.
Exactly, and can speak to each other through their minds.
Like, this is where we're drawing the line.
Didn't think that would be possible. I think my concern, if I were Leader Jake, I'd be
Leader Jake.
Yeah, Leader Jake. I would be like, oh, I think it's Visser 3 communicating with you.
Yeah. No one even brings that up.
But none of them jump to that conclusion. But I guess because Visser 3 doesn't know their identities. I don't know.
But Visser 3 can mind speak to them when
that is true.
They are. So I feel like I'm a little confused about how the mind speech works in general, and I think it comes up in the next book more than this one, but they mention stuff about like, oh, I whispered in mind speak, oh, I yelled in mind speak. I'm like, are there like physical limitations to the mind speak? Like, do you have to be able to see the other person? Like, what are the rules in terms of that? And I don't know if we've really gotten a really firm grasp on that yet, or if we ever will.
Probably not. It's probably just a convenience thing, I would think.
Yeah.
But so while they're having a meeting discussing the dreams, when all of them are kind of hit with this feeling, and Cassie and Tobias also get like knocked out and have a vision about someone who they think is an Andalite calling to them from the bottom of the sea, essentially saying, "Come help me. I can't last much longer. Help me, help me, help me."
Mm-hmm.
And so the others are like, okay, so maybe there is some credence to what you guys are saying. Also, should we call the cops, or should we call 911 because you guys are like passed out?
Also, at this point, haven't they seen like the news or something that there's been some debris washed ashore that has like the Andalite writing on it, so they're like, oh, putting two and two together, maybe there is an Andalite lost at sea.
Yes, yeah, Leader Jake did see that on the news, so so they decide that they need to go to investigate the whole sea. And to do so, they decide to, as Rachel said in book 1, they decide to go pick up dolphin morphs. Like, yeah, they were going to come in handy, whoever yelled at Rachel for wanting to become a dolphin.
Right.
Yeah.
There was, I'm trying to think. Hold on, I'm going through my notes right now. Maybe I have nothing to say on this. I thought I did.
The dolphins are named after Friends characters.
Oh, yeah, that was it. I actually had a lot to say on that, just because, like, okay, so so the dolphins are, as you mentioned,
here's the thing.
Here's the thing. The first dolphin that is introduced is named Joey. And then the dolphin trainer is like, oh yeah, we have 6 total dolphins, and their names are Joey, Ross, Chandler, Phoebe, Monica, and Rachel. And like, nobody in the book acknowledges that they are named after Friends characters. I imagine that the target audience of this book might not have picked up on that, right? Like, 8-year-olds might not have been like, oh, Friends characters, you know?
Very true.
So I think this was just meant to be like a winky thing that Applegate put in there because she likes
to the
Friends.
Parents reading it.
Yeah. To us. Many years in the future. However, it opens a very, I would say, concerning line of inquiry about the standards of care at this animal park. Because this book, I believe these books are supposed to are set at the time that they are being published. So this book came out in 96, which was like season 2 of Friends.
Yes.
So like, either this animal park there's 3 possibilities. Either the animal park just happened to name all of their dolphins these things, which that's wild as someone who once...
What a coincidence.
Right. Like, I once came across like a list of baby names my mom was considering for me, and Monica and Rachel were both on it, and that was like pre-Friends, and I thought that was a crazy coincidence. So like, the idea of having all 6 dolphins be Friends characters coincidentally, no way.
No way.
Or the dolphin turnover at this park is so quick that they managed to pick up 6 new dolphins in the last 2 years, that's
a little terrifying.
A little terrifying, especially like, I'm pretty sure it takes like a year at least to train a dolphin to be like a trick dolphin for a show. So like, that's pretty fucked up. How quickly are they going through dolphins?
Let's see. So bottlenose dolphins can live up to 50 or 60 years, but in captivity they rarely live more than 20 years. So yeah, still not making sense with the
numbers.
Not
great. Or the third option is that one of these trainers is just like a fucking super huge Friends fan, and one day they came in to work and were like, no, fuck this, its name is not Flipper anymore, it's clearly a Chandler.
I could believe that, though, too.
I could believe either of these except the coincidence. Except the coincidence. It's not a coincidence. Some trainer is a crazy huge Friends fan, and either they renamed all the dolphins, leading to, I'm sure, mass dolphin confusion, or this animal park is Their dolphins are dying like every 3 years.
Or alternatively, the person who named the dolphins is like a Yeerk controller, and through some like wormhole in space, they've already seen Friends, and Friends is like a really old TV series.
Maybe all of the Friends actors are themselves Yeerks, or the writers of Friends are Yeerks,
and they're
rewriting this Yeerk program.
Guerrilla ad campaign is to name everything after Friends characters,
and they're rewriting, or they like one of the Yeerks got put into this body of this like writer for television, and they were like, oh fuck, I don't know anything about writing television. I'll just write like old episodes of Queen Kwongs, you know, that old that show that we used to have
sitcom
back on the Yeerk home planet.
Yeah.
And instead of it being set in the what's it called? Kadala? What's the pool?
Oh, Kandora?
Kandara pool. It'll be set in New York. It's the same difference.
It's that giant Kandara pool.
Yeah.
New York,
you know. It's basically hell, but everybody has to go there to get recharged. Haha.
This is kind of an aside, but I just thought of it. How did the Yeerks know? Oh, so you're coming to this alien planet. Mm-hmm. How did they know the humans were the smart ones to invade first? Like, what if because they keep talking about how intelligent dolphins are. What if the Yeerks tried to control all the dolphins first?
Dolphins don't have thumbs.
Oh,
dolphins don't have thumbs.
But they wouldn't know what thumbs were for. They're just slugs. They don't even know that thumbs are. And they're like, Andalites have hooves, and taxons are just knives put together in a blob, apparently. How would they know what thumbs were for?
Well, again, there's a few possibilities here. One, maybe they did try dolphins first, and it's just like it didn't work. So, because they're in the ocean, and what are they gonna do?
That's true.
So, like, maybe
Earth is 70% ocean, so maybe they thought that was a good way to go.
Well, maybe they did, and maybe there's still like 18 Yeerks fucking around in the Atlantic, like in dolphin
the Yeerks
bodies.
Named the dolphins because they are huge Queen Kwong fans, and they wanted to name themselves after Queen Kwong characters.
Right, exactly. So that's one possibility. Possibility number 2 would be that they saw, like, I don't know, the cities and stuff, and were like, oh, seems like one of these species is building stuff and the other one isn't. We'll probably go with
the other one's eating dirt. Which one should we choose?
I don't know, seems like maybe the one with thumbs. I don't know. Or possibility 3, which this book opens up as we will go further. They tried the dolphins first, but the dolphins' buddies, the whales, who are essentially god figures in this book.
Question mark.
I have a lot of questions about the whales.
Question mark over that. We'll the whale interactivity
But
here.
Perhaps the whales stopped them from taking over the dolphins.
That could be. Whales are bros, man. They're fans of humans.
I have concerns about the way whales are portrayed in this book and the way sharks are portrayed in this book, because this is another thing with this book series. Sometimes I'm like, wow, I'm so impressed by how thorough Applegate is with her research. Like, that must have been hard in the 90s where you had to, like, go to the library and look up, like, a big book of animals.
No. She just watched Kratz Creatures over and over.
Also possibility. But then other times I'm like, I feel like this is very obviously wrong. And even if I didn't have the internet, I would hope that I would realize that this is very obviously wrong.
Like you care.
You're right, I forgot.
Like you care. So they decide to become Friends characters and scope out the ocean. And while they're doing this, while they're just looking in the whole sea, they come across a whale being attacked by sharks.
Yes.
But the dolphin, like the dolphin's mind, which they've said many times is an intelligent mind, and they were kind of like squicked out a little bit about, well, Cassie was anyway, about becoming dolphins because she felt like they were because dolphins are so intelligent, she was using the dolphins in an inappropriate manner.
They basically said the exact same shit that I said in the last episode, and I was like, "Holy fuck!"
She wasn't reading
I didn't
ahead,
think this
guys.
would actually bring up. Like, it was.
There was a couple things in here that I was like, "Wow." Had questions about this, and Applegate answered.
Applegate was like, "Listen, we're coming in hot."
She was like, "Hold your fucking horses. We haven't even gotten through the first cycle of POVs."
We heard you were confused about the ethical morality of Animorphs, and we will be answering those questions. Just
we'll
wait
address
till book
it.
4.
Wait till the message. The dolphin refers to the whale as a great one, one of the great ones. And so the kids decide to fight off the sharks.
Which, okay, because I mentioned sharks. Tiger sharks don't do this. They're like, oh, the tiger sharks are hunting in a pack. Like, they don't. That's nonsense. And also, like, I would almost see where someone would get that. I don't think sharks, I never consider sharks as being, like, pack animals. And then, like, if you throw tiger in there, that's another thing that's not a pack animal. Like, even if I was just, like, trying to, I don't know, it just bothered me. I was like, that's, why did you come to that conclusion? So I honestly thought that the tiger sharks were going to be, like, Yeerks or some shit. Because I was like, they're not acting correct. They need to come correct to this whale. This is nonsense.
They need to come correct. The kids decide to fight off the shark, but Marco gets seriously harmed in the process. Like, his tail gets bitten off or something. And they're all like, Marco's gonna die, because if he transforms back into a human, he'll drown. Even though, like, here's the thing. So, what ends up happening is that the whale, in his gratitude towards the dolphins, somehow realizes they're not really dolphins. That when Marco turns back into a human, because he does, the whale understands that was one of the dolphins.
Right.
And then the whale sticks around long enough for Marco to morph back to human shape and rest up and then become a dolphin again.
Yes.
Because DNA changing means he doesn't actually have a boo-boo in his human form, and so then when he goes back to dolphin form, the boo-boo is also gone again.
Right.
But why couldn't the dolphins just do that, though, also?
I don't know why you have any questions about any of this. It all made perfect sense to me. This is nonsense. This whole part was complete fucking nonsense. I was like, what?
Why are we playing fast and loose with whales here?
This is the lowest opinion I've had of this series. Was this, like, we've talked about, like, how much we really enjoyed this series. This was the part that I was like, ooh, maybe not. The whale part, and also dumb. Just the idea that, and I mean, like, I get it that this is gonna come back, like, it comes back in a big way in the next book, but, like, the whole, if I get seriously injured, I just morph into another animal, and then I don't have to worry about it because that's not how DNA works. I'm
DNA.
Like, this is nonsense. This is just complete nonsense that you can be, like, bit in half by a fucking shark and then just turn into a human, and instead of, like, your legs being gone, you're just fine. I'm like, that, I mean, like, it does open the door for some really great body horror in later books, but... Like,
if they decide to go that way as the characters get older.
Well, the
next book.
Do that in the next book, but, like, it super lowers the stakes hardcore, because, like,
yes,
you can basically be, like, 2 seconds from dying and just be like, it's okay, I got another life, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
It's
oh, stick through my heart? Nuh-uh, now I'm human again.
Right, so, like, fuck off, I guess. Like, okay.
I guess.
And then, the whale... We haven't even really talked about yet the fact that this fucking whale is psychic. And
yes,
what?
He knows everything.
He knows everything. Like, he knows everything, and he can telepathically talk to the morphs, which is not something we've seen from any other animal, that they are able to communicate in this manner. And then, like, he gives Cassie all of his memories, like he's the fucking giver, and that this is a thing that whales do.
So like, they don't even have to touch.
This is not a magic sci-fi whale. This is a regular fucking whale. And we are meant to believe that if we just, I guess, swam out and talked to them, we could be given the memories of their 100 years of life that they have been swimming through the Pacific or what the fuck ever. And that's just how whales work. Like, there's no...
Whales are God.
Whales are God. I don't understand.
Whales are God. The end. Period. And... like, I guess it was kind of nice that, like, the whale song meant, like, they tried to give meaning to the whale song other than just, like, I'm looking for some booty.
Right.
But also, they did have like a separate whale song and mentioned in the book like, oh, the whales aren't singing that because they're looking for some booty.
Right. And also like I really hate when books do this, and it happens a lot in like sci-fi and fantasy where they're like, oh, they were speaking a different language and it wasn't like a language with words, it was like symbols and emotions, but I
understood it perfectly.
But I understood it and I will tell it to you as words. I'm like, okay.
That can't be. But I guess so at least she did a little bit there where she was like,
for 5
Cassie
seconds.
Couldn't explain it, but she somehow knew. And
but then everything the whale says is transcribed as like, hello, friend Cassie, I am a whale, and I will give you all of this information.
Here is my song.
Here is my song.
About
Enjoy.
The Andalite in the ocean and exactly where to find him. And you'd better hurry because those yeerks are coming, and how could I possibly know that?
It was just a lot. This whale really, really shook my suspension of disbelief with this series.
Yeah. It wasn't the best. But maybe we find out whales aren't really, they're also aliens.
Maybe, that'd be sweet, actually.
That'd be cool if that was the long con and she came back like 10 books later and was like, whales in space!
Like, fuck y'all, space whales this whole time. Belugas, fuck that shit. They're magic and aliens.
They don't even need spaceships, they just swim in space. Swim.
It's like that Doctor Who episode, fuck y'all.
Exactly. So the kids are obviously very exhausted by this and they go home to do homework or whatever. And they have to come up with another plan for how to go save the Andalite. And so what they do is they decide to become seagulls and hang out on a ship that's headed in the general direction of where the whale sang to Cassie.
Which this whole section also gave me a lot of info in my quest to pinpoint where the Animorphs are located, and I am pretty sure, I mean, the clues don't all add up totally, but I'm pretty sure at this point that they are on the coast of California.
Yes, because the ship is headed to Shanghai.
And also because at one point they say, because for a while I thought they might have been in Washington because of the wolves thing, but then there's like a line about how they went directly south from the coastline, which wouldn't really work in Washington except for like this one place right near Forks, so maybe they're hanging out with the Twilight vampires, but I don't think so.
Could be. No, I think they're somewhere in Northern California because they do mention how winter gets cold, so it definitely has to be somewhere where there's weather in California.
And there's also, I think there's a case to be made that the animal park that they are constantly getting animals from is based on the Six Flags that's in hold on, let me see.
Is it called The Garden?
Six Flags but Garden? Here's the thing. It's Six Flags Discover Kingdom. And it has like the same type of animals pretty much to the letter that the Animorphs park has. Damn. Yeah. And also, so that's in near San Francisco, and there is another like amusement park near San Francisco, I believe, called the Garden something. So I think it's like a mashup of those two parks.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they're in San Francisco.
Wow, maybe we have to watch the TV show for more details.
Yeah.
So they decide to become seagulls, hang out on a ship that's headed to Shanghai. But they're going to, before the ship goes all the way to Shanghai, they're going to morph into dolphins and jump over the edge of the ship. Well, in Marco's case, because Marco doesn't know how to swim. He's going to morph into a dolphin and then jump into the water, whereas the others just jump into the water and become a dolphin. Which, this is very deep water that they decide to just jump into off the side of, assumably, a very tall shipping ship. What are those called?
Shipping ships, that's it.
Shipping ships.
Used for shipments.
Yep.
Shipping crater? Nope, not craters.
Containers?
Containers. Shippers.
Shipping shiptainers.
Shiptainers. What are freights? Is it like
freight vessel?
Shipping freighters? Is that a thing?
Freight vessel.
Shipping.
Boat go? Ship thing?
Boat go ocean?
Watcher go deep? Ship go over water with thing?
Whale!
Many thing. Whale. And their plan surprisingly works. This is like kind of a first for them, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they swim real deep into the water, and they come across, I'm not quite sure how to visualize this. I think it's just kind of like if you had a greenhouse but underwater.
Yeah, I pictured it kind of as like you know,
like
in SpongeBob, Sandy Cheeks, her deal.
Yeah,
it's like
Sandy's house. Yeah. Except for there's not like a squirrel inside.
Yeah.
Just a young Andalite.
He
young
could be a
princely
squirrel.
Andalite.
He could be a squirrel if he wanted to.
That is true.
Yeah.
He just have to touch one first.
Mm-hmm.
But he is the younger brother of Prince Elfangor, who's the one that gave them their powers at the beginning. And his real name is Aximili Escaruth Istil.
Nope, it's not.
But Marco decides they'll just call him Axe.
No one can be called that. I'm sorry.
I guess I have a question now about Andalite royalty.
Okay.
Because never once does Axe say that he is a prince, just that he is the younger brother of a prince. And he doesn't imply that he's royal in any way.
I don't think he is.
Yeah, and actually he like immediately is subservient to Jake, the leader of the Animorphs, who he now calls Prince Jake.
Yeah.
So how do you think their royalty monarchy works?
I don't think it's a monarchy. I think it's a title. And I think if you're
like general,
like if you're considering the fact that they're coming from like a different culture, alien culture that doesn't have the same words for stuff as we do, that there might be like a lexical gap in what exactly a prince of the Andalite is. But it is a leader of some sort. I don't think it's specifically genetically. Maybe we'll find out later.
It's not like a royal family.
Yeah. I think
just royals. Maybe he was elected prince.
Well, I think that in the next book that Marco specifically says like, oh, they just seem to call anybody who's in charge a prince. So I think it is a title of some sort that refers to leadership and actively taking on leadership rather than
that makes
just
sense.
genetics. There might be a genetic component to it. Like it might be only certain people can be princes or something like that. But I don't think it is just something you automatically get because, and I could be proven completely wrong about this in like 10 books when
there's like 50 more books after this.
And start calling this dude a fucking prince too or some shit. I don't know. But it seems like it's more of a performative title than a like inherited thing.
We're doing a lot of work for K.A. Applegate here, filling in the gaps, man.
I think she's letting us fill in the gaps. She doesn't want to. She doesn't want to give it all to us. Fill in the blank
books. She's like a show, not tell.
Yeah, it's really masterful. I'm only saying that somewhat sarcastically.
So Axe is just been chilling here in the bottom of the sea. I guess what happened was he was on the big Andalite ship that was up in space that the Yeerks destroyed. But because he was just a child, they jettisoned his part of the ship off and onto Earth, and it just sank to the bottom of the sea, and he's been there ever since. So like what, a month or two? I don't know how long it's supposed to have passed.
Yeah,
it's been a while.
I also feel like, I don't know, maybe he should have tried like literally anything to get out of his situation aside from just like thinking hard about it, which seems
and he acquired a morph that he could swim out.
Just go.
Because he does. Yeah, why wouldn't you just leave? I guess because he thought people were still alive up there, but like
he thought it was kind of like when your parents like if you are at the grocery store and you get separated from your parents, they're like, oh, you just stay in one place and I will come back and get you, versus like the little child wandering around the planet and then getting more and more lost. Like I think that was probably his thought process, but it did seem a little bit useless of him.
Yeah, and knowing what we know about Axe, he probably would have gotten caught and yerked up immediately.
He's not
very smart.
I wouldn't even say he's not very smart. I think that he's just not prepared for the situation he's currently in.
He's not prepared for the real world outside of school.
Yes.
Because he is like a teen Andalite.
Yeah.
He's
an appropriate...
He has to fit in. Yeah,
he's an appropriate age to ship with these other Animorphs.
Oh, now, okay, so when you ship... Maybe we should talk about this at the end. I do have a question about how you ship him, but... So it turns out that not only was Axe transmitting his message to the Animorphs and the dead Andalites, he was also accidentally transmitting his message to Visser 3, who, as we know, used to be an Andalite.
Well, is kind of an Andalite.
Is an Andalite.
Andalite
controller. Yeah. Andalite controller. And so Visser 3 and the Yeerks have now decided is a good time to discover the sunken ship. Or ship, dome, greenhouse, whatever. And so as they're having their meet and greet with Axe, some taxons start to come out of the water, and like everyone just starts to swarm on this little dome. So everyone's like, let's morph and get out of here. And Axe is like, conveniently has a tiger shark morph that he picked up somehow. I don't know. And they leave, and they're chased by some taxons and Visser 3. And they kill the taxons or something, but Visser 3 turns into some weird alien swimming shit and is gaining on them, and they're all exhausted. But just as he's about to eat them, the whales from earlier, the whale and his buddies, they come in and save the day by beating up on Visser 3.
Yeah. I do get the whale thing on, like, a metaphorical level of, like, because this is Cassie's, like we've said, this is Cassie's book about why is Cassie doing this, right? All these early books. And I'm talking about this like I'm an expert on this series, and I'm not. Maybe, shit'll change in the upcoming books.
Could change,
but right now it seems like these early books are being set up to explain the motivations of each of the characters. Because the big kind of twist here that we find out from Axe is he tells the other Animorphs that what will happen to the planet Earth as this invasion continues is that the Yeerks will wipe out everything that is not important to keeping the human hosts alive. So Cassie's motivation is basically Earthchild, I don't want the Earth to be destroyed, nature is beautiful, all that. So, like, from that level, I get the whale thing, because it's like, oh, save the whales, oh, the whales saved us, sort of bullshit thing, whatever.
Yeah.
However, with this whole thing, I do want to point out that, and this might be getting into serious theories a little bit later on, but I don't buy either Axe is mistaken about how this will go down, or the Yeerks are very, very stupid about ecology, because you can't. Like,
you cannot destroy everything.
That's not how that works. Like, you can't be like, you can destroy everything. That's fine if that's your plan. But the plan of we're just going to keep enough stuff alive to keep humans alive, like, no. Like, it's not like, okay, we need these 6 species and we're good. Like, that's not how ecosystems work. So either Axe is confused, which I don't think he necessarily is because of stuff Visser 3 says later, or the Yeerks are super confused about, like, how to keep stuff alive, because it's not going to work the way that they're doing it.
And also, there's no way they're going to get every single insect killed. If that is their goal. There's no way. They
say it's like, I'm picturing what is happening, because they say it's like, oh, the Earth is going to be like a barren wasteland. Is that they're just going to, like, plan on rounding up the humans and putting them in like the humans that they want to keep as hosts, or, like, I guess breeding populations for hosts, which that's creepy, but, like, they're gonna round them up and keep them in little, like, small areas and then just, like, torch everything else. Like, that's because they say, like, oh, they're
not a good plan.
No, it's a super bad plan, and, like, it won't work, because then, like, you can't like, it's just like feasibly it won't work. Like, but that is the threat that they are under now, that Cassie is like, I don't want the world to become a barren wasteland, and so that is now my motivation for continuing the good fight of being an Animorph, is to prevent this global catastrophe.
From dying.
Yeah, which is noble, but, like, also I feel a lot less like, and, we've talked about him before, but, like, okay, Jake's motivation is basically because I'm the leader, which is a bad motivation, and also because of his brother, which, like, that's a little bit better.
Gotta save Tom.
Rachel's is, like, because I don't want love to be destroyed, which is an interesting thought, that is where she's like, I don't want humanity as a whole to be destroyed, and like love and emotions and stuff like that.
Relationships and things,
Tobias is like, I'm doing this for my own
I'm humanity. A hawk!
Well, he's a hawk, but he's doing it to, like, assert his own humanity, and not fall into the predator-prey dichotomy. So, like, all of those are kind of, like, deep and interesting. Like, Cassie's is very, like, Jake's isn't, but Jake sucks. And Cassie sucks a little bit too, I feel like, because hers is like, I like horses. I don't want horses to die.
Because they suck.
They don't belong together because
they're too boring to be with anyone else.
I don't know if I think Cassie is boring in general. I think she's just boring as a viewpoint character.
That could be. And then Marco's we'll get to in the next book, because he changed. Well, I don't want to spoil it, but
there's a lot going on with Marco.
Marco changed dramatically for me, in my opinions of him.
Super dramatically.
So much. So the whales carry the morphs back to town, I guess, all the way back to town, and Axe takes on. So he touches each of the 4 human morphs. He doesn't bother with Tobias.
I wish he had.
I wish he had just like a big old beak. But no, he becomes like some weird amalgamation of all 4 of the children. And that's very weird to me. And also, why wasn't their immediate thing like, how can we also do that? Teach us.
Yes.
I want to be a tiger with gorilla arms.
Yes. Number 2, my main like feeling when reading this, them all being like, oh my god, it was so weird, like seeing him with like my features is like, and I think I talked about how I'm face stupid before. I don't think I would notice. I think I'd be like, someone else would be like, oh my god, that's so weird, Em, he has your exact nose. And I'd be like, people say that like my actual relatives have my nose and I don't notice. So like I think I'm face stupid and I can't like distinguish features.
Please donate to help Em correct her face stupidness. Every penny helps.
I won't be able to distinguish who's on the penny. I hear it's Lincoln, but...
But we have to start there with the famous faces. So please send us your coinage, your dollar bills.
We're just gonna hold them up and let her look at them and identify the presidents.
Until she can tell who is who. And hopefully she'll forget what she already knows about who's on which, but, you know.
It's not a perfect system.
And Axe, also, he decides to pledge his allegiance to Prince Jake and help fight the orcs.
He does pledge his allegiance to Prince.
Oh my god! Okay, let's get to your shipping then. So when you ship Axe with Prince Jake...
Listen.
Is Axe a human in his human form? Or is he an Andalite?
Everything.
Everything!
Listen. If we're here shipping Rachel and Tobias the Hawk Boy, I am allowed to ship Prince Jake and Axe, the sometimes Andalite, sometimes various other animals, sometimes a weird amalgamation of Jake and the other people he might have a crush on. I really like a lot of the tropes that would come out of this potential pairing. I like the alien who is weirdly devoted to one person. I love that. I love that idea. The whole like reluctant leader thing is a lot more fun if you are like in this.
If you have someone that's obsessed with you.
Yes, exactly. Like it colors it more. I like all of the potential for weird shit. And I would argue, here's the thing, it's not just that I ship Axe and Jake, and actually Axe and Jake was the ship that I came to last in this book, because the other ship that I think emerged from this book,
Cassie and
Marco! Cassie and Marco, it's so good! It's so good, though! Why are we wasting time with this Cassie-Jake bullshit? Listen.
Because they all have to grow as people before they can find their true loves. No. They're only 13, Em. They're only 13.
No, because I like Rachel Tobias. I like Rachel Tobias so much, but here's the thing with Cassie Jake versus Cassie Marco. Cassie Jake is a boring puddle of vanilla pudding, and I hate it, and it's bland. Cassie Marco is so spicy, and I don't mean that that sounds a little racist because, like...
That does...
What I mean...
The two brown kids.
No, yeah, right. That's not what I meant. What I meant was that, like, they test each other, right? Like, Marco's like, ooh, I'm so pessimistic and I hate everything. And Cassie's like, but I love the world. And Marco's like, well, maybe for you, Cassie, I could love the world too. It's so good. It's so good.
It is that trope of the bad attitude and cinnamon roll.
Yes, exactly. And I'm here for it. And Cassie and Jake suck so hard, but they're
so bland.
They're so bland and nothing. And they just like each other because they were told to earlier in this book. And if they could just set aside those feelings and realize that their true loves are right there. Ugh. Jake Axe, Cassie Marco for life, and obviously Rachel Tobias.
And Rachel Tobias,
because we were already sold on that one. You didn't have to, do the
that was
pitch.
Well placed, well plotted out. But so I guess I did forget to mention Jake and Cassie enter kind of a secret relationship because they admit to each other kind of how they feel when they think they're about to die to Visser 3 before the whales step in. And Cassie's like, Jake, I just wanted you to know I didn't want to die without telling you. And Jake's like, I know, or vice versa. I can't remember who said what.
Yeah, and see, you're saying this right now, and literally this is like the first I've heard of it, because I apparently just glossed over this part, because their fucking relationship is so boring and I don't care.
It's very boring. Yeah, so, I guess it gets into it a little bit more in the next book. But they are now in a secret relationship.
Which just makes Jake's inevitable turn to realize his true feelings for Axe, all the sweeter, all the better.
He won't have to hide that relationship.
No, I mean, like, if Jake and Cassie are like, here's what I'm picturing. Long game. I'm about to write this fan fiction, y'all. Like, long game.
I hope you age them all.
Oh, yeah. This is like, I'm talking about like towards the end of the book series when they're all like 19.
This is book 55.
Yes, when they're like 19, 20, and it's fine and not creepy. Yes. So like Jake and Cassie have been together for years and are like the couple, and everyone's like, oh yeah, they're like the team mom and dad. So they have like all of these like expectations. Oh yeah, we're like, you know, we're holding this team together with our like coupledom. But then like I don't know, like Jake and Axe go on like a secret mission together or something, and Axe of course has realized that he's in love with Jake and like has said this to Jake in a way that he feels like is like obvious. Like he said shit like, oh yeah, you know, like I'll follow you to the ends of the world because I'm in love with you is like the implication, but Jake is just like, oh, Axe is such a good soldier. Like,
wow, cool.
Yeah, cool, Axe, thanks. So Axe is like, well, I mean,
I'm dumb Jake.
Right. So Axe is like, well, I mean, like I've told him, like, what else can I do? I guess he's just not interested. It's fine. Like he's obviously in love with Cassie. It's fine. So then like they go on a secret mission together, and then Jake is kind of like, I don't know, like they do a bunch of the fan fiction-y shit where like they have to share a bed or whatever because there's only one bed at the hotel. Who cares? Anyway, so there's a lot of cuddling and a lot of angst. And when they get back, like Cassie and Jake like have this whole, because don't to a cheat, but Cassie and Jake like have this whole talk where they're like, are we really like together because we love each other, or we want just together because we feel like we're supposed to be? And then they break up, and it's very amicable. And in the meantime, like Marco and Cassie are like best friends at this point. And then like so Jake and Axe get into a relationship like immediately after, and Axe is like, oh my gosh, like you're just rebounding, and they have all the angst and stuff. And then Cassie and Marco is just like, oh well, I guess we're dating now, and it's like a nice like,
I guess we are.
Yeah, they're just like, Jake and Axe are the drama bombs. Mainly because Jake needs to do something to be useful.
He needs to be somewhat exciting.
Yes, and then Cassie and Marco are just like a nice, healthy relationship.
And Rachel's in the corner making out with a hawk.
Rachel and Tobias's thing is going to be that long game of like, we can never be together because you're a fucking hawk.
It's like Lady Hawk. Yes. Except for he never turns into anything else.
No, just a hawk. Alright, you want to get into, I guess, series theories?
Yeah, series theories. Let's hear what you think is gonna happen. Obviously, at the point we're recording this, we have read the next book in the series, so we know a little bit more than
I'm not gonna discuss any of that, though, because I have a theory that came up specifically in this book, and I think... I need you to come with me on this one.
I will. Okay, take me on a journey.
Tobias is dead.
God. So what happened in his POV where he says Tobias is dead?
No.
Okay.
No.
Oh, he's actually dead.
He's actually dead. The person...
No more Hawk Boy.
No, there is a Hawk Boy. The person that was human Tobias died in book 1. The character we know of as Tobias is not that person.
It's just a random Hawk?
No. Listen. Because they brought this up again in this book, right? So in this book, the whole setup is like Cassie and Tobias are both having these weird visions, these weird dreams of this Andalite in the ocean who can talk to them, we think, because Cassie is so in tune with nature and very good at morphing, and because Tobias talked to that Andalite for a long time.
Connection with Alfangor! Oh, I like where this is going!
So, when Tobias went back to help Alfangor, he ended up, like, getting caught or whatever, and he was the thing, like, I think we kind of saw Alfangor get eaten, but, like, maybe he morphed into Alfangor or something, like, that was his first morph, because they already had the morphing powers at that point, and Alfangor morphed into Tobias, okay?
Yes.
So, for the first book, Alfangor, as Tobias, is like, oh shit, I got that kid killed. I can't tell these other fools that I'm that guy because they'll turn on me. Like, they're not, Andalites, they don't know.
Yeah, they'll think I did it on purpose.
Right, they'll be suspicious. So, he pretends that he's just regular Tobias. And if you remember, Tobias was the one who was like pushing everyone like, hey, we need to morph, we need to morph, we need to morph. So he's trying to get these fools ready. So he's, you know, being Tobias, going back and forth, whatever. He goes down into the pool as a hawk. And in the process, as we've seen, when they turn into animals, their like brains get all fuddled and whatever. So he turns into a hawk. All of the other Animorphs are like, hey man, like, come on, Tobias, it's cool. He's like, oh yeah, I'm Tobias. So he gets that into his head. So then when he gets stuck as a hawk, he now believes he is Tobias stuck as a hawk, but he's really Elfangor, who is pretending to be Tobias and is now a hawk.
And he's just one head injury away from realizing all this.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Mm-hmm. This is my theory.
I love it. I want this now. And then what happens when Rachel realizes she's been in love with an Andalite the whole time?
Oh, she's super into it, obviously.
She's like, oh yeah, I like this even more now. You're not some weirdo 13-year-old boy. Oh, that's very good.
So that's my current theory on where this book is going. I don't think that's actually what's going to happen, but man, it'd be great if it was.
It might be a little bit too deep for the series that we're reading, but we've been surprised before by how dark this series is.
And I will be keeping an eye out for further confirmation that Tobias is dead and actually Elfangor.
Yes. Good.
Speaking of it being dark, what was your most morbid moment this week? The moment that was maybe the creepiest or scariest or just saddest of these books that are theoretically for children.
Yeah. I think my most morbid moment was when they were all just willing to accept their death, the hands of Visser 3, and like Tobias was just like hanging out waiting for him to come back. Like, can you imagine how long he would have just kept waiting? Like, he would have been freaking out after it got past the 2-hour mark, right? And then he would have waited he has nothing else to do except for look for them in this ocean. He'd be looking for days.
Yeah.
Before he even knew what happened.
Yeah, and
then he'd be the only morph. And he couldn't
even morph. He'd just be a hawk. I think at that point, honestly, he would probably just give up and go be like a hawk in the forest.
Go mate with that other hawk, yeah.
No, that one's dead. She died.
That died. Her sister.
Oh, gross.
Yeah, I think that was it. Because it was very like, this has happened several times in the books where they've just been like very willing to die for the cause. And we are only, and this is book 5?
4.
This is book 4?
Yeah.
Dang. They're really dedicated.
They really are.
That's all I can say.
They're very, very accepting of their eventual fates, I think.
So what about you? What was your most morbid moment?
Mine was actually the opening of this book, and this was kind of a meta morbid moment. Because I was thinking about how these books are, like, and we've talked about this a little bit, these books are from the 90s, and like kid lit in the 80s and 90s, and I'm sure anybody who was reading, you know, kid lit in the 80s and 90s can attest to this. Most series had this thing, right, of like, you were not expected to necessarily read every single book, right? It was just like, oh, you can pick any of them up whenever and like get into the story, and it'll be a complete story, and there might be stuff that doesn't get like tied up or whatever, but like you get the whole series or the whole story in the book, and you don't have to have read every single one. And we see this a lot in this series where like chapter 2 is pretty much the recap chapter of like, okay, here's all the characters, I'm going to tell you the same like 5 facts about them.
Or how every book starts with, my name is blank. I wish I could tell you my last name. I really could, but I can't.
Now, usually most of these is pretty much that. Like, the opening is, I wish I could tell you, I can't, we have to disguise ourselves, whatever. And it's pretty, like, it's not crazy intense, but this one gets, like, 0 to 60 crazy intense real fast.
That is true.
If I can just, like, read the first, like, 3 paragraphs of this. They're short paragraphs. My name is Cassie. I can't tell you my last name. I wish I could, but I can't even tell you what town I live in or what state. We have to disguise our identities.
San Francisco.
We Animorphs. It's not about being shy. It's about staying alive. Okay, that's pretty much the typical. And then usually in this first chapter, and this is true for this one too, there's like a little bit of like, oh, we're going to show you what the Animorphs do. They're going to like go out and intervene in some everyday problem by turning into an animal, just as like a taste, right? And that's how we kind of ease into the sci-fi stuff. But in this one, it goes, if the Yeerks ever learn who we are, we'll be done for. If they don't kill us outright, they'll make us controllers. They'll force a Yeerk slug into our brains, where it will take control of us, making us slaves, tools of the Yeerk invasion of Earth. Like, chill out, Cassie. We are 3 paragraphs in, my friend. Can you imagine?
Hot and heavy.
Can you imagine if you were like a 9-year-old and you went and got this book from the library and it's like, oh, it's a fun book
from
about
the Scholastic
right
book
from
fair.
the Scholastic Book Fair, and it's like, oh, it's a fun book about like a girl who turns into a dolphin. What a treat, what a delight for me, little Jimmy. Like, and then you read this and it's like, genocide, slavery, like the entire human race is gonna be wiped out, and I'm like, okay, that's a little.
I should have just picked up Frindle.
I should have read Babysitter's Club. Christy never had to deal with this.
Even those homeless boxcar children had it good.
Oh man, boxcar children. Fuck yeah.
I love those books too. There was way too many.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. But yeah, that was mine. It was more like
that's a good one. You're right. This book did start off just
really
like,
intense,
diving right into all the darkness of the Animorphs.
I wonder if that'll be consistent with Cassie books, or if that just is kind of like a one-off with this one, that they're just trying to mix it up a little.
Well, Cassie is like supposed to be the soft-hearted one, so things probably do hit her a little bit harder than they do the other morphs.
I think also, isn't she the first one to have killed?
Yes, in the first book, and I was expecting her to like reflect on that in this one, but nah, she's cold-hearted.
I think that's really the thing with Cassie. I think that like we're supposed to see Rachel as kind of like, ooh, the warrior princess. They like keep calling her an Amazon and whatever, and I think we're like that Cassie is really actually kind of the one you have to watch out for. I think Rachel is more upfront about it.
I think Cassie's in her next POV, she's gonna slip. She's gonna mention how she loves killing.
Well, it's not even. I mean, she does love killing. Cassie loves killing. It's not even that I think like Cassie is. I think what it is that I think Rachel is quick to fury, and that's like predictable. I think Cassie is like cold fury, right? Like,
that's true.
And it's scary.
She does what needs to be done.
Exactly.
She does talk about in this book like how she's just used to having to like put down animals and stuff when they're sick. Yeah, and she's dealt with that for a long time, and so I think
she's definitely a realist. I think if it comes down to like in the last book, there's gonna be like a choice of like saving a friend or destroying the world. Rachel would be like, but I love Tobias, I can't possibly kill him.
Not Swiftwind.
Cassie would be like, fuck you, Marco, our love is pure, but like there's 6
but you
million
have
other
to
people
go.
die.
I'll tell your dad you said goodbye.
Right, exactly. Cassie is ready to shank a bitch if needed.
Yes, very true. So, is she your most valuable morph?
No, you know who my most valuable morph is
who?
Marco, actually, which was surprising to
in
me.
This
yes,
book?
Because here's
why.
Wow.
Okay.
Because bitch got his fucking legs yeeted off. Like, they
That's
fucking
true.
bit his legs off, and he had to deal with that. And everybody else is just like, oh, fuck. And he managed to, like, morph his way through it, even though I think that's nonsense that you physically could do that's the rule, apparently. But since it is, that Marco managed to keep it together enough to morph back into human form while basically dying, I think puts him on the board for most valuable morph this week. How about you? What was yours?
This might be a little bit cheaty, but I think my most valuable morph this week is Axe.
Oh.
And not for what he provided in this book, but for what I think he will provide in the future.
Okay.
Because he gave them a lot of like background information and stuff in this one that they lacked. And so I think that's kind of like for me why in this book he feels like the most valuable. But then I think he's just going to keep building on that because he knows so much more about the Yeerks. He knows so much more about morphing. He knows so much more about those two things.
Yes. I think there is something to that this team needed a
Q, a Merlin.
Yes, something to guide them. I hope that he doesn't become just that, like just the encyclopedia of Yeerk knowledge. I hope that he has like character development, and I'm sure he will. I think that we've talked a little bit about like how we seriously do enjoy these books. I really do think these are actually really enjoyable books.
They're excellent.
And
they're excellent.
At this point, I trust Applegate enough that she is going to have a good character arc for this alien boy.
He has so much growing to do.
Yes, that's very true.
Yes. And I'm excited that they've added him to the team.
For sure.
Like, he's really going to flesh out, like, I think because Tobias, who is their main, like, motivator, has become this hawk, and he's become a little bit, like, sad about being just a hawk. They really need someone else there to push them, and I think this is the guy to do it. Axe.
I think that the one who was actually like the least valuable morph this week was not Jake for once. I think it was actually Tobias, just because I think that
he didn't do shit.
He didn't do shit, and coming down from kind of his last couple books where he's really been very helpful to the team.
Yeah.
Like, he really didn't provide anything in this book that wasn't provided by Cassie, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, he didn't even really need to be in this book, and he wasn't for a majority of it, because he's a bird. He can't change into anything else.
Out in the ocean. Doesn't work.
Yeah.
No place for him to land.
He can't go underwater. Yeah. I mean, he read that the ship was going to Shanghai, but
I mean,
even he admitted that, like, there's no point in me being here. And now they've added Axe, who can keep time in his head.
Right.
They don't even need Tobias in his clock.
His watch that he wears on his bird. What the fuck,
on
you
his
guys?
Little bird wrist. His little Timex.
That wouldn't. Okay, I can't get into bird anatomy again.
Not again. Not after the gun scenario.
Bird gun. Jesus.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, do we have anything else we need to talk about with this one?
I'm not sure. I think we kind of discussed it all, because this is just a filler book until the next one.
I wouldn't even say it's a filler. I think in terms of plot, it's
a setup. Yeah,
it's very important because of, like you said, Axe. But yeah, it's
like a sophomore book.
Yeah,
you know? Like a middle book.
A little less character growth, I think, in this one. A little more moving the dominoes into place.
Yes, and I think the next book is definitely like the end of Act 1.
Yes.
You know,
well, we'll have gotten all the viewpoint characters, because next week we are reading number 5, The Predator, which is a Marco POV. Now, I've said all the viewpoint characters. I think eventually we do get Axe points of view, but
yep, it goes Jake, Rachel, and then Axe.
Yeah, so. But isn't book number 6 another Marco?
No, I think it's Rachel.
Oh,
let me see. Yeah, it goes Jake, Rachel, Axe, Cassie, Marco. No, Tobias. Oh my gosh, Jake, Rachel, Axe, Cassie, Marco, Jake, Rachel. Oh, then Tobias. I shouldn't read too far ahead. Okay, never mind. I was like, he dies!
Yeah. All right, so next week.
Oh, that one's narrated by Elfangor? What?
What? We all know. All right. So yeah, next week, book number, or not next week, sorry. I forget that we do this every
next
2 weeks.
Fortnight, yeah.
Next fortnight, book number 5, The Predator, Marco POV. Very excited to talk about it.
Yes, yeah. Y'all thought we were dreading it, and we did too, but
no.
Marco knocked out of the park.
Marco, we'll get into it.
Yep.
Anyway, in the meantime, if you are a Animorph and want to discuss your own series theories, although please, again, no spoilers.
No spoilers, dude.
But if you want to talk about Animorph shit with us, or if you, as always, if you have a book that is not Animorphs that you think we should cover once we get back to covering non-Animorphs books this fall, you can tweet at us at HateReadcast on Twitter, or email us hatereadcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from you guys. It is a joy and a delight.
Yeah. I feel like I said yeah, and it sounded sarcastic, and then I didn't want it to be, but then I just kept going with it, like, yeah.
See, what would have happened would be you did that embarrassing thing that you just did, and I would have cut out everything except for the first yeah, and then just moved on to the rest of our wrap-up stuff. But now I'm leaving all of it in.
Excellent.
So.
Excellent. You guys are seeing the real me now. We are also on all of your favorite podcast aggregating platforms. So if you haven't followed or subscribed to us on one of them, you definitely should, so that you can get the latest episode of Hate Read, the Slummer Reading Project, in your inbox as soon as we post it. If you use Apple Podcasts, you could leave us a 5-star review. That would be super awesome.
You should.
And you should. Yeah, you can and you should.
Morally,
and if you don't use,
it is your duty.
If you do not, the Yerks will come control you to do it. If you don't use Apple Podcasts, that's okay. You can still talk about us to everybody you know and love, and even those you know and don't love. Maybe some people you know and hate, because I don't know. Everyone could use a little bit of hate read in their lives.
Oh, man.
Wow. I'm really knocking this one out of the park. In the words of K.A. Applegate, I should have been in bed. Instead, I was in the barn, getting ready to turn into a squirrel.
Oh, man.
This series is so good. Okay,
great.
Let me stop recording.
Did I tell you I bought the wrong one?
Oh no, which one did you buy?
The one with the orca on the cover.
Oh, that's so far.
Yeah.
Don't read ahead.
I haven't. It's like 30-something, I think.
I don't want you to get spoiled.